Well, hey, Real Life, so good to see you guys. I'm so glad you're here, especially in Austin. You survived all the flash flooding. Congratulations. It was crazy. I actually had a young man stop me and said, Pastor Micah, I would not be here today except my baseball tournament got rained out. So we're here. I don't know why you're here today, why you feel like you're here. Maybe your baseball game got rained out. Maybe you feel like your whole life's getting rained out. But I got great news for you. It's not an accident you're here. God knew you would be here, and He loves you. He's got a message for you. And not just here in Austin, but I want to welcome Corpus as well. Great crowds at the new service time, and we're so proud of our Corpus family and love you guys so much. And of course, those connecting with us online. So Austin family, would you help me welcome the rest of your church family and Corpus online? We love all of you. Well, hey, take out a Bible, turn to John chapter 13. If you don't have a Bible, would love to give you one. Please take a free Bible if you're here on a campus today in person. Take out your message notes. You can download them if you're online today. And I want you to write this word down, love. We're calling this relationship series Remedy because the remedy to all of the challenges and tension in this world is love. That's the remedy to all the tension and conflict in the world. That's the remedy to all the tension and conflict in your world. All your relationships is this one word, love. And so we're here looking at how Jesus loved people. So here's our theme verse. It's Ephesians chapter 5, verse 2. In your notes are on the screen. It says, observe how Christ loved us. Now, His ultimate expression of love, obviously, is the cross. If you ever wondered how much you're worth, if you're valuable, just look at the cross of Christ. That's why He died on that cross for you. We sang one of my favorite worship songs, Reckless Love, a moment ago. We're actually going to end with a reprise at the end of this service, Reckless Love. He loved us so much, and we see that on the cross, but also in every interaction with people, we can observe that His love, the scripture says, was not cautious, but extravagant. He didn't love in order to get something from us, but to give everything of Himself to us. And so would you say these three words with me, Real Life? Let's say these three words. What are they? Love like that. So we're observing how Jesus interacted with people so we can learn how should we interact with the people in our lives, especially the people that we say that we love. Now, we introduced the 5 love languages. Gary Chapman, a great Christian counselor back in 1995, wrote a book called The Love Languages, How People Express and Receive Love. And so I hope you've taken that test. And if you haven't, you can download our app. Very simply, in your notes, just write down MYRLLF. And you can find our app. It's on the very first page. It's the love language test. Doesn't take you long to take it, but it is going to help you. It's going to help you in all your relationships. There's a test for kids. There's a test for teenagers. There's a test for married couples. We actually had a married couple at Real Life. They've been married over 30 years and didn't know each other's love language. Literally this week, the husband handed his wife a printout. She's like, wow. And it really did help both of them. It's going to help your marriage, okay, no matter how long you've been married. And so take the test. Now, if you have taken the test in Corpus, Austin, even online, you can participate. How many of you guys, one of your top 2 love languages is service or acts of service? Raise your hand. You like it when people do some things for you? Yeah, there's lots of people here. Well, if you just raise your hand, take some notes today because you're going to be like, yeah, that's right. That's what I'm talking about right there. And if you did not raise your hand, you definitely need to take notes because this is not coming natural to you. You're not thinking about how you can help them and the fact that their love languages is service. What happens is we express to them the way we want to receive love instead of the other way around. So everybody needs to take some notes today, and we're going to dive in and look at this incredible story of how Jesus, He was always thinking about the needs of others. You see, if your love language is the acts of service and somebody does something for you, helps you out, when they do that, you literally hear in your heart, I love you. It's amazing. And Jesus was always looking at the needs of people. You know why? Because Jesus was always carrying the message and the mission of love. And so how other people receive it. So here in John 13, we find Jesus on the last night of his life, literally what we know as the Last Supper, but a lot of things happened at this last meal. And it says this, we'll pick up in verse 1. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. So understand, his arrest, all the false trials, all the accusations, the beatings, the whipping, the crown of thorns, he knew all of it was coming. Okay, so he knew it was time for him to return to his Father. He had loved, look at this, his life was all about love. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth. So his ministry was 3 years long. He had loved them. And now, watch what it says. He loved them to the very end. Man, love does not give up. I'm gonna love you till my last breath. Now you're like, wow, he's gonna love them to the very end. What's about to happen? Something amazing. I mean, this is Jesus, right? This is the miracle worker. This guy that walked on water. I mean, something incredible, something earth-shattering is about to happen. I mean, something groundbreaking, pioneering. He's about to, and then you just kind of keep reading, which we'll do in a moment, and you realize he washes their feet. Well, that really wasn't what I was expecting, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I thought it'd be something like more like, wow. He's gonna wash their feet. He's gonna notice a need that went unnoticed in the room, and he's gonna love you to the very end, and his love is expressed in an act of service. It's powerful. I mean, here's Jesus, and you have to understand back in those days, because you're like, wow, man, he's got to take off their Nikes. Got to get their socks off, and no, but back in those days, I mean, you just wore sandals if you could afford them, but most people couldn't, so they're just barefoot. And you're walking around, of course, it's dirt roads, and not only that, but, literally you just took, the sewer from your house and just kind of threw it out in the street. Didn't really think a lot about it. So here's people walking around the streets, and they got dirt and septic, lots of opportunities, let's just say that. And so here they come, and they're going in the house, and the lowly servant, somebody who's, the lowest on the totem pole, is supposed to be at the doorway washing your feet. Now, you can imagine that job. And so that's the job you're definitely looking for a promotion from. But anyway, so you're at the door. There wasn't anybody at the door. Disciples come in the door. Man, there's nobody at the door. So then on top of that, when you ate, you didn't sit in a chair. You actually reclined at a table. Just imagine that. So you're on one elbow, and you're eating with one hand like this, and guess where your feet are? In somebody else's face. You just ruined their appetite, okay? Now here's Jesus at this Last Supper, and he notices a need that should have been met by someone else, but he loved people so much. You say, why did he wash their feet? Well, I want you to write it down, because love asked this question, how can I serve you? And I need you to write this question down, because I want you to practice it this week and ask the people around you in your relationships, how can I serve you? Now you probably say, well, no, that's not the question love asked. That's the question they asked at Chick-fil-A. How can I serve you? Yeah, that's the nuggets. I need some nuggets and some tenders and a large lemonade. Sorry to bring up Chick-fil-A on Sunday, my bad. But anyway, so Chick-fil-A says, how can I serve you? Yeah, one of my kids actually worked at Chick-fil-A, so I got the behind-the-scenes look at their handbook. It's incredible. Their mission statement actually says, we will glorify God in all we do by how we treat others. Can you see that in how they treat people? Their value statement, one of their 3 values literally says, we're here to serve, period. And so it expounds on that in their handbook, and it says, we keep the needs of team members and customers at the heart of our work. Now you can see that that's why the drive-thrus are always full, right? So when you see that in action, now what happens at Chick-fil-A? Because they bring you that, it's really fast and it's good and everything. They hand it to you and you say thank you. Then what do they say? Man, everybody in Austin knows this answer. Wow, did all you guys work at Chick-fil-A? No, because man, they get in trouble if they don't say it. Well, it was our pleasure. Now, what would happen if you did that in your marriage? Honey, I just want to thank you so much for taking out the trash. It was my pleasure. Honey, I just want to thank you so much for this amazing meal. It was my pleasure. Honey, I just want to thank you so much for paying the bills. That really helps out. No. It was my pleasure. Now, I just want you to think about it. If you take service and put it at the heart of your business, your drive-through always going to be full. And if you take service and you put it in the heart of your marriage, you're going to have a full tank, and it's going to be incredible. Serving needs to be a central part of your life, because a business is successful if service is at the heart of it, and a marriage, a relationship, a friendship, every relationship in your life, you put service in the middle of it, it's going to be successful. Now, I talked to a guy named Lynn this week. I was down in Corpus for a couple of days, and I want to give a shout out to Lynn because later this summer, he's going to retire, and this is crazy. I mean, he had to explain this to me, but he actually has 23 years in the Navy and 23 years in the Army, okay? So while he was in Naval Reserves, he started working for the Army as well. So let's give it up for all those who serve in our military. But Lynn, that's impressive, man. That really is. And then he's like, I've been 23 years in the Army, 23 years in the Navy, and I'm only 30 years old. I was like, wow. No, I'm just kidding. So with Lynn, though, he's like, man, I'm serving our country, and I was really bragging him about that. And then we turned to talk about marriage and the love language series we're doing, and he says, well, Pastor, you know what? He goes, I can remember back when I met my wife, Caroline, and he said, she had been single for 15 years. I had been single for 7 years. And when we met, let's just say we were set in our ways. Now, he said, I knew God brought me to her because he said, I was an Iowa farm boy, and she was a nurse from Canada, and somehow we met in Corpus Christi. I knew there was a God. But he said, when we got together, and this was his statement, and he gave me permission to say this, he said, there's no way our marriage would have stayed together if we stayed as selfish as we were. And he said, I can always observe in Caroline's life when I'm not serving her because, and this is his words, her tank gets empty and I can see it. So I was like, Lynn, what happened? How did it change for you? And he said, oh, that's easy, church. We started coming to real life. We started listening to the teachings of Jesus. We started really realizing we could receive him into our life and express his love to each other. And all of a sudden, Jesus is the one that changed everything. And we moved away from selfishness. We moved towards serving. And we're now more in love than we've ever been in our whole lives. Yeah, so let's give it up for Lynn and Carolyn. Serving, love it. What happened to them? Well, they started realizing what Jesus was saying with his life and his teachings. Look at what Jesus said in your notes, they're on the screen. Matthew 20, verse 28. These are Jesus' words. For even the Son of Man, that's him. For even the Son of Man, watch this, did not come expecting. I want you to circle that word, expecting. Did not come expecting to be served, but to serve and give his life in exchange for the salvation of many. Relationships, by the way, are all about expectations. And if you expect when you get married, oh, now they're going to meet all my needs and they're going to serve me, wrong answer. You need to walk into any relationship, and listen, selfishness says, how are you going to serve me? But love asks the question, how can I serve you? And there's three things that this attitude of service requires. I want you to write them down if you're taking some notes. Serving requires humility. How did Jesus do this? How did he wash the disciples' feet? Because when you look at his life, it takes humility. Humility focuses on the needs of others, not the needs of yourself. That's true humility. And some people get the wrong, kind of view of humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, like, oh, I'm horrible, I'm no good, no, that's not it. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's just thinking of yourself less because you're thinking of others more. And this is what Jesus does here. Jesus is thinking about them. And when you stop focusing on your needs, you become more aware of their needs. And so let's pick up the story in John 13, verse 3. So this last night of his life, Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything. Can you imagine? You can't get higher than that. Hey, what are you in charge of? Everything. I'm the CEO of the universe. How are you? Here's my business card. I keep the solar system rolling. You with me? That's me, okay? I'm in charge of everything. Now watch this. He knew that, and he knew he had come from God, and he would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Now, if this was our culture today, it would say he knew who he was. He was in charge of everything. He was from God and would return to God. So he said, who's washing my feet? Because I'm the man. No, I'm not the man. I'm God. and who's going to do this. But he took off his robe, wrapped a towel around. That's humility. Humility is the number one trait I look for in a leader, because the ultimate leader, Jesus, really was the greatest ultimate display of humility. Well, why aren't there more humble leaders? Why aren't there more people who just embrace this? Because there's not a lot of humility. Because if you're going to serve, you got to have three things. You got to know three things, write them down. You got to know who you are. If you're going to be humble, you got to know who you are. Jesus had no self-doubts. He knew who he was. Did you catch it? He knew that the Father had given him authority over everything. So if you know who you are, you're able to help others. 18 times in the scriptures, Jesus defines himself. And he says things like, I'm the bread of life. I'm the shepherd. I'm the door. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. I'm the Son of God. He knew who he was. 18 times he says this. Here's one in your notes or on the screen, John 8, verse 12. Jesus spoke to the people once more. He said, I'm the light of the world. I know who I am. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness, because you have the light that leads to life. Man, what an amazing leadership example. He knew who he was. Man, we need more light in this world. How do we get it? You got to know who you are. You got to embrace humility, and the only way to do that is, like Jesus, know exactly who you are, no doubts. And if you don't know who you are, other people will tell you. And they'll try to conform you and shape you into this world. And years ago, I read a book, still in my library. It's called If I'm So Successful, Why Do I Feel Like a Fake? That's the name of the book. Talked about a businessman who just had all the stuff, all the money, the cars, the houses, all the trappings of success, and said, I still feel empty inside because I've driven myself to get approval from the wrong people, and I've lost myself in the process. Do you know who you are? I'm gonna do a whole series this fall on identity. I mean, the identity of our lives is getting attacked, but you say, well, how do I know who I am? Very simple. You realize that God chooses you. You become comfortable with who you are when you realize whose you are. You belong to God. He loves you. He's got a plan for your life. He's got a purpose for your life. And so watch this. If God likes me and I like me and you don't like me, that's your problem. Because I know who I am. And Jesus has this amazing confidence. So that's how he could wash their feet. So know who you are. Write this down. Know your mission. Very clear cut. Jesus knew what his mission was. He knew what he was here to accomplish. And he said, I want to show the disciples the same mission. What was his mission? To love. To display the love of God, the Father, for the world. And he says, I want to show this to all of you. And I don't know what goals you have in life, goals for your finances, goals for your personal achievement, goals for your health, whatever. But make the number one goal of your life to love God and to love people. That's the mission. And if you don't know where you're headed, you won't know when you get there. Man, what's your mission? Man, my mission is to love people. That's why I'm here. I'm going to display the love of God by loving people. Look at what Jesus said in John 8, verse 14. He says, I know where I came from, and I know where I'm going. And if you know where you're coming from and you know where you're going, he says, that's why I know I'm here. I'm here to love people. Know where you're headed. Determine the direction of your life. Man, set some goals. But make sure the number one goal is I'm going to love God. I'm going to love people. I'm going to serve God by serving people. And I'm going to lean in. Because, listen, if you don't have a goal, I can tell you this, you're under stress. Because if you don't know what success looks like for you, man, I'm successful if I love the people around me. If I allow God to love the people around me through me. If I serve God by serving people. Because you got two options in this life. You can either live with priorities or pressure. And you make the priority of your life to love. Man, it's going to change everything. But if you don't, you got all this pressure, all this unneeded pressure from yourself, from other people, and you get distracted by what you consider the urgent instead of my goal is to serve. And if you decide that, then you won't be selfish. If you decide to love, then all of a sudden life becomes fulfilling because I want to know God, I want to make him known. I want to love God, and I want to love people. I want to serve others I want to serve God by serving others, and all of a sudden that's the mission. So know the mission, know who you are, write this down, know the need. So what is the need? Well, guess what? You have to take time to see it. And if you're too busy trying to make everybody else happy or going after goals that are very temporary and not fulfilling, you're going to miss the need. Because the culture teaches you to focus on your needs. But Jesus in this story and through his whole life teaches us to care about others. Life is not all about you. Life's about others. Do you know what your spouse's needs are? Do you know what your kids' needs are? Do you know what your teenagers' needs are? Do you know what your coworkers' needs are? Did you know that your parents are not robots? They're actually human beings that have needs. And you got to stop long enough, and Jesus was always doing this. Look at this story in Mark chapter 8, verse 2. This is the story of the feeding of the 5,000. Before you can feed 5,000, you got to see the need that they're hungry. And notice it says this, and your notes are on the screen. It says, Jesus says, I feel compassion. I just want you to circle that. I feel compassion. When you look around at the people in your life, you got to feel compassion for the people because they have remained with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. Do you notice needs? Are you always thinking about others' needs? Or you say, well, man, I'm just too busy. I got so many things to do. And so many times we're so busy with the task, checking off the list, they don't take time to see the people and what the needs are. At Jesus, here in this story, how does he wash the feet of the disciples? He saw a need that everybody else just ignored. Everybody else thought was too low for them. And he saw the need, and Jesus here, the most important person in this room, in this story, the most important person in the room teaches the most important lesson, and that is love others by serving them and being intentional. Humility asks, how can I serve you? Now, write this down. Serving requires humility, and then it requires intentional action. You got to actually do something. That's what Jesus does in the story. So, oh man, I'm just so tired. I got so many things to do. I just come home. I got to sit down. I just got way too much happening in my life, and you don't understand. I mean, I got important things happening. More important things than Jesus had in this story? What was Jesus doing the next day? Dying on a cross for the sins of the world, gonna save humanity and all of us, and literally give us a new eternal address called heaven by being the way, the truth, and the life, literally gonna lay down his life for all of us and split all of history between BC and AD. Well, that's a pretty good excuse to sit down and go, you know what, guys? I'm gonna rest up for the big fight. Somebody wash my feet. I don't really feel like serving you today. But here's Jesus at his last meal, at the last moment, with the last time to give any lesson he can to these incredible people, these people he loves. And he says, I need to give you one more lesson. Nothing is more important than serving the people you love. Don't be too tired. Save up some energy. And here's Jesus, and he shows us at this Last Supper, this last meal, what does Jesus do? Well, look at verse 5. It's very intentional. He says, then he began. And I want you to circle that word began. You got to begin, okay? And what happens in marriages is, well, I'll serve you if you serve me. I'll do something nice for you, but you first. Now it says Jesus began. You have to start. You have to see the need, take action. He began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around them. How did he do this? What was he focusing on? He was focusing on the need. And when you see the need, you're going to take intentional action just like Jesus does here. What are you focusing on? You got to ask yourself, are you focusing on your needs? Or are you focusing on their needs? And Jesus teaches us here how to do this. You see, what happens is what we do is we focus on how they're not meeting our needs. Well, he never does this for me. Well, she is always doing this and she never does this. And all of a sudden we get in this mindset where we're focusing on what they're not doing instead of what we need to do and what their needs are. And when you shift the focus for what you need in your life to, and what need is not being met in your life to, what do they need? What's happening in their life? How can I meet their need? And when you shift from, I'm not getting this need met to, how can I meet your needs? You shift that focus, everything's about to change for you. I mean, literally. It's like when you get that kind of focus, it's like the difference between a flashlight and a laser. Both a flashlight and a laser use the same amount of energy, but one is very diffused. What are you doing? I'm doing all 40 things right here. I got all this going on, okay? But the laser takes all the energy and does one thing, and all of a sudden there's power in it. And if my priority and my purpose, my mission out of humility is to take action and say, what do you need? And I'm gonna tell you this, I may miss a lot of things on this to-do list, but I'm gonna meet your need today. That changes everything. Paul wrote about this all the time. Matter of fact, he said one time, he's like, he didn't say these 40 things I do, he says this one thing I do. There was this focus in his life and focus on taking intentional action. Look at what he says in Philippians 2. I love this in the Passion Translation. This is to all of us today. Don't allow self-promotion to hide in your hearts, but in authentic, here it is again, humility. How do you put others first? Humility, put others first. View others as more important than yourselves. And watch this. Abandon every display of selfishness. Get rid of selfishness. Possess a greater concern for what matters to others, not just what matters to you. Watch this. Instead of your own interests. And how do we do this, Paul? Well, he tells you, which is what the whole series here we're doing. He says, and consider the example that Jesus set. Here he goes, consider the example that Jesus, the anointed one, has set before us. And I love this last phrase. Let his mindset become your motivation. I love that. When my motivation turns from self-serving to focusing like a laser on serving you, write this down. You don't want to miss this. Serving actually has a benefit. It results in blessing. And this is the part I don't want you to miss. If I can just take intentional action, embrace humility and say, you know, it's not thinking of myself less, but it's just thinking, it's not thinking less of myself, but thinking less of myself and time to go towards you. All of a sudden, there's a blessing in it. When you focus on the needs of others, there's power. Because listen, here's what happens. When you think of your needs and you have an inward focus, that leads to a more isolated, more lonely, and more bitter life. But when you shift the focus and you say, you know what, I'm gonna focus on the needs of others, it's incredible because I'm gonna serve them. I'm gonna help them. I'm gonna ask, how can I serve you? All of a sudden, bitterness will turn to blessing. I want you to see what Jesus says. If you go down to verse 17, this is Jesus. Now, you can imagine the startled nature of this because the disciples are like, I'm not washing feet. That's somebody else's job. I'm not doing this. And they ignore the need. And then here's Jesus, and he intentionally takes time, the last night of his life, to wash all of their feet, which took time. Highly awkward, like, whoops. Jesus washing our feet, we should have done. And then they're like, all eyes are on him. Jesus, you got time to drop the mic, what's the lesson? And I'll show you the other phrase he says in a moment, but here's one of them. He says, so now, put into practice what I have done for you. You will, watch this, when you meet others' needs, big or small, you will, watch this, experience a life of happiness, enriched with untold blessings. Wow. Man, you want to have a life of happiness? The culture tells you, get more stuff, get this, make it all about you. Look at what you're doing, look at what you've accomplished, look at what you're getting. He says, no, you want to experience a life of happiness? Serve others. See the need. See what you can do for them and ask the question, how can I serve you? I want you to think about the life of Jesus and how different the stories would be if there was selfishness in the life of our Savior. Can't even think about it because his life was about unselfish acts. You know why? Because his life was full of love. And love, ask, how can I serve you? Think about the feeding of the 5,000. Go back to that story, okay? These people haven't eaten for 3 days. Think about the difference of the story. You probably know the story, right? What happens? The people haven't eaten. There's no Whataburger in sight, everybody, okay? So there's nowhere to eat. And so what are they going to do? And it's pretty much a crisis because some of them may not make it home. They will faint in the weather and the environment. And so Jesus asks how we're going to feed them. Well, what do they find? They find a boy with 2 fish and 5 loaves. The culture tells you to focus on yourself. Now, can you imagine in this story how different the story of the feeding of the 5,000 would be if Jesus was selfish and prideful and self-centered and focused on him? The story would go like this. I'm hungry while I'm teaching. Oh, Jesus, man, there's no food, but we found this kid's lunch. All we got in this whole crowd is these 2 fish and 5 loaves. Good, bring them here. Jesus took them in his hands and he ate them. All right, next lesson. You said, man, that's a horrible story. That's not how I remember the story. You know why? Because Jesus had no pride. no selfishness, no self-focus. It was all about others. And he took the little that he had in his hands and he broke it. And what did he do? He gave it away. He said, I see your need on the back row of 5,000 people, and you are not gonna leave this place hungry if I have anything to do about it. And he blessed what he had and he gave it all away. Now you may forget this part of the story. What happened at the end? Did you know they took up the remaining food? Did you know there were leftovers? Like leftovers? Wait a minute. That's how God's economy works. You don't think you have time. You don't think you have energy. You don't think you have strength. You don't think you have the money. You don't think you have the ability. But all of a sudden you give it away. What happened? They had 12 baskets full of food left over. Jesus did not go hungry that day. He's like, give me one of those baskets. But it was left over. Because after you give, there's always things left over. And the biggest thing left over is blessing. Look at Proverbs 11:25. I love this. Look at what it says. It says, those who, and I want you to read these 4 words with me in real life, online, in Corpus, right here in Austin. Say it with me. Live to bless others. Say that one more time. Live to bless others. I'm going to ask you today to walk through this week and try a whole new paradigm the culture is not teaching us. I'm going to live to bless you. I'm going to stop asking, how come you're not doing this for me? And you haven't met this need, but what is your need? Those who live to bless others, watch this, will have blessings heaped upon them. If you give 2 fish and 5 loaves away, you will get 12 baskets back. You will get more blessing than you can possibly imagine. It says, and the one who pours out his life to pour out blessings will be saturated with favor. So live to bless others. And so I'll just give you a couple of challenges at the end of this message. Here's one of them. I'm gonna ask you to lead with love. Whatever you got going on in your workplace, with your friends, with your spouse, with your kids, lead a life of love. You say, wait a minute, in my company, you don't understand, man. My employees, I start telling them I love them, it's downhill from there. I mean, they'll stop working, won't show up for work, won't produce. I need producing, Well, it's interesting. The Harvard Business Review published an article in April 2014, and listen to the title. This is Harvard Business Review, not the Bible, not a religious, publication. And here's the quote: "Employees who feel love perform better." That was the name of the article. Employees who feel love perform better. Here's what they found in this article. It highlighted the positive impact of an emotional culture that is concerned about the well-being of the employees. And here's what the article said, I quote, "Employees who felt they worked in a loving, caring culture reported higher levels of satisfaction and teamwork. They showed up to work more often, and the researchers found that if you can create a compassionate culture, then you can create a productive company." Anybody want to go back to Chick-fil-A's example? And okay, so we're tracking there. Lead with love. Works in business, but it also works in life. I talked to one of our singles, so proud of her this week, and she manages 10 people. Young lady and already very successful in a company that's very well known, and she manages 10 people, and she said, you know what, I tell them, I care about you. And she tells them, she's like, look, I want you to know that I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm not pushing my faith on you, but my faith is not something I do on Sunday. It's who I am. So I just want you to know I care about you, and I want to help you be as successful as you can possibly be here at this company. Is it any surprise to you guys that she's already up for another promotion? Is it any surprise to you guys that every one of her employees gave her a great rating, even the 5 that were really struggling and not performing? She didn't come in heavy-handed. She said, obviously, you need some help. And I care about you, and I want to help you. Listen, if you walk into life with service, whether it's your company, whether it's your family, it'll change everything. And I'm going to ask you to lead with love everywhere you go, because it's so countercultural. There's a story about James and John, one of the top 3 disciples, Peter, James, and John. And their mom came to Jesus. And moms, Mother's Day is next week. It's going to be amazing, by the way. I can't wait for Mother's Day. Love moms. Moms always love their kids. And so mom pulls Jesus aside and says, hey, Jesus, when you establish your kingdom on the earth, can my son sit on either side of you on your throne? When you sit on your throne, can they be on either side of you? Because I'm mom and I love my kids. I just want to see them right there. I'm going to take a picture, put it on Facebook. It's going to be awesome. I'm so proud of my sons, James and John. And she had great intentions. She didn't understand the kingdom and what was coming just about a week later after her question as they walked toward Jerusalem. And you know what that caused? That caused a big fight because James and John are like, yeah, man, we need to sit next to Jesus. We need to be right on there. He's in the throne. We need to be right next to him. Well, all the other disciples heard about that. They were really mad. Started fighting with each other. Oh, yeah, well, I'm more important than you. No, I'm more important. Well, hey, listen, I'm the most important. And Jesus walks into the conversation. Do you know when Jesus walks into your conversation of selfishness, all of a sudden you get clear perspective? I'm more important. No, I'm more important. Here comes Jesus. Hey, guys, what you talking about? Oh, my bad, Jesus. We're just talking about who's more important. I mean, you know, you're the most important. But we're like, you know, who's second? And look at what Jesus tells them. In your notes are on the screen. It's powerful. Jesus, knowing their thoughts. So he just knows inside of us, there's a selfishness, there's a pride, there's a I got to get more attention. He called them to his side and he said, kings and those with great authority in this world rule oppressively over their subjects like tyrants. What is Jesus saying? Jesus said, when people get authority, they like to tell people what to do. They like to flex their power over people. Now, that was back then. Politicians did this. Listen, whether it's politicians or parents, you give some authority and you're like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm in charge now. Look what Jesus says, but this is not your calling. Watch this. You will lead. You will lead by a completely different model. Well, what's the model, Jesus? He's going to tell you. He's going to be different, live different. Lead with love. Watch this. The greatest one among you will live as the one who is called to serve others, because the greatest honor and authority is reserved for the one with the heart of a servant. I want you to circle the heart of a servant. I'm going to ask you, when you walk into your workplace tomorrow, walk in with the heart of a servant. When you walk into your marriage today, this week, just walk in with the heart of a servant. When you walk into your family this week, walk in with the heart of a servant. You walk into your friendships, walk in with the heart of a servant. And all of a sudden, you're saying, you know what? How can I wash your feet? How can I meet your needs? How can I express love in action? And when you do that, it's going to change every relationship in your life. And marriage, I'm asking you in your marriage, listen, marriage isn't just about serving each other. Marriage is two people joining hands to serve God. How do we serve God together? I just saw a couple serving in the kids ministry together, husband and wife, loving on children. Serving doesn't have to be big things. I think we think of huge things like, you know, I'm going to serve this way or that way. And we think of major things like missions. And let me give you an example of that. We just helped hundreds and hundreds of kids get through their school year in Ghana. You think it's been tough in the schools here, in VIA, they don't have computers, they don't have access to remote learning, all those kind of things. And so it's been a really tough year, but I want to show you one of the kids that just graduated from 4th grade over there, and hundreds and hundreds of kids being helped by you. And this is from the headmaster, Matthew. Hello, real life. We have successfully ended this academic term yesterday, and we want to thank all of the real life team for making teaching and learning a success, but most of all, that all the kids ate food. That all the kids got to take home food for their entire families every weekend. In fact, if it wasn't for your intervention, we know that most of the kids would not have come to school because their parents could not afford them to be here. So on behalf of all the children, all the parents, I say God bless you all for serving others. So give yourselves a round of applause. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, really cool. And because you're serving, I mean, you're helping all the churches that help those schools. And check this out. This is last week. Some people got baptized in Lake Via, and they have to put people in the water to watch for alligators. So you know these people are committed. And man, they're like, oh man, I'm all in, risk my life, risk using my hand. And here's a young lady getting baptized by two of our young pastors that use support over there. And it's just beautiful. And you think, yeah, that's serving. I can't wait to go on a mission trip. I'm going to apply this whole message. I'm going to go overseas to Ghana. I'm going to serve. Well, your mission field may not look as impressive as this. Your mission field may look like this next picture. Well, that doesn't look very impressive. That's not as cool as that other story Micah told. But that's your mission field. It's a whole different pool of water. It's not over in Via, but it may just be, you know what? I'm doing the dishes tonight. How can I serve you? Oh, thank you for doing that. It was my pleasure. Write this down. Put others first every day this week and see how it'll change your life and your relationships. Listen, and don't go home and just start cleaning out the gutters. Well, I'm going to serve around here. You will appreciate it. Listen, they might not even care if the gutters are cleaned out. Ask them, how can I serve you? You may be surprised. I don't even have to get out the ladder. Just work on their love languages. But listen, this is what Jesus does for you, friend. I don't know where you are today, but I do know that he sees your need. And if you're here today and you say, you know what, I just need forgiveness. Jesus says, I got you. I want to give you forgiveness. He said, I just need a new start, Jesus. He goes, I got you. I'm just going to give you some grace. So I just need strength to make it through the days. Like, I've got you. I'm here to serve you. And you will not do this alone. I'll give you the strength to get through it. He said, I'm just here. I need some wisdom. He says, done. I will serve you and I will walk this path with you. You are not alone. I just need a friend, Jesus. Done. You will not leave this place alone. You will not turn this message off alone. I'm with you. I will never leave you or forsake you. I will serve you. Whatever you need in the smallest detail, big or small. When he was on this earth, he washed feet. And whatever your need is, don't worry about it anymore. He will stoop down from heaven like he did in this story, and he will meet your need. And if it's big enough for you to worry about, it is important enough to him to minister to you. And allow him to do that today so that as he ministers to you with love and care and attention and takes that humble action, you will do the same. Would you read this with me, real life? John 13:34, as all eyes were on him after washing feet, what did Jesus say after giving the expression of practical love displayed through service? Let's say this together. Corpus, you read it online right here in Austin. Say this with me. Jesus said, so now I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. Let's pray about that together. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the example. Thank you so much how practical and relevant the word is, how relevant your life is. And Jesus, we just pray that your example on this last night of your earthly life would give us an example of what we do every day of our lives. Help us to see the need and out of compassion and humility meet the need, and in doing that find the blessing. And Lord, I pray that everyone in this room would experience the happiness that comes when we bless others and focus on serving. And I pray for those online and in Corpus and here in the room, Lord, as we open our hearts to your love, we receive your forgiveness and grace, that we would find the strength and the focus to give that same grace, express that same love, and meet others' needs as you have met our needs this day. For we ask it in the name of the greatest servant of all, and the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, our friend, forgiver, our Savior, and our Lord Jesus Christ. And everybody said, amen. Let's give God a hand for his grace.
Thank you so much.